Adam, you were in the room today. It seems like Eric Trump found himself in contradiction with Eric Trump.
In email after email after email, Lawrence. And we have to put a fine point on this. These are emails between Eric Trump and Jeff McConney, who was the former controller of the Trump Organization, top official. And in email after email after email, we see Jeff McConney reaching out to Eric Trump and saying that he's working on his dad's financial statements and asking for help finding some piece of information for these financial statements. And Eric Trump started off the day with a pretty strong disavowal of having anything to do with these financial statements. And the AG's counsel systematically confronted him with these emails to undermine that. And one more comment on one of the things that you said opening up this segment on how he's in construction. There's also a video of him at a deposition before trial with that same theme said, and I think this is a direct quote, "I pour concrete," that he wasn't paying attention to the appraisals. So this was a day where he was confronted with all of that, and he's back on the stand tomorrow.
Tim O'Brien, what are the chances of "I pour concrete" being found to be perjury?
Well, you know, I don't know if it's going to be found to be perjury, Lawrence, but it's just so absurd. You know, Eric Trump does not have calluses on his hands. Eric Trump has never labored in the hot sun on a highway, making sure it's smooth, the driveway going to Bedminster or wherever else he's talking about. And it sort of highlights the fact that in a family full of people who dissemble and are profoundly unsophisticated and ignorant, Eric Trump is unusually ignorant and unusually unsophisticated. They have someone on the stand today who once said, we don't need to borrow money from banks. We can get all the money we need from Russia. And he is, like the other Trump children, now in a court of law, having years, months, and days of dissembling tested against the documents, tested against his own testimony. And he's left to his own devices because his father's not there. So all of these years of sitting at their father's knee and learning that you can try to spin the media or try to spin the banks or try to spin the tax man without being held accountable is actually coming home to roost now in a courtroom, and the father's not there. So good job, Dad. You've led your children through life, teaching them that they can try to get by on spin and they can try to get by on falsehoods. But at the end of the day, you're going to be left alone like everyone around Donald Trump is, because loyalty is a one-way street in the Trump universe. And he's even leaving his son hanging here. But it's also, I think, another a moment in which you have this accrual of information that's all consistent across every day of testimony that the Trumps routinely were not truthful about how much their assets were worth. They were not ever really truthful about the nature of their business. And that's the core prosecution here. It's that they lied to banks, they lied to tax authorities about the value of what they owned, and they're now being held accountable for it in a public forum. And they have the worst witness you could ever have in a scenario like that, which is Eric, who even among his siblings, was routinely derided as being incapable and a bit of a doofus. And no one's around to back him up, including Trump's own lawyers and the father himself.
Andrew, I know people in the audience are thinking, if you go into a courtroom under oath and you don't tell the truth, then you've committed perjury. We just heard Adam use the term of art that's always used in the courtrooms, that this undermined Eric's testimony. And in reality, in a courtroom, there's some space between what we all kind of refer to as undermining the testimony and then perjury. There's this room. It's like taking a lead off first base. There's a certain amount of space that is available before you hit the perjury wall. Where is that in this case? Where's the perjury wall here?
Okay, so let me walk you through sort of how, give you a legal grid for how I would analyze that. This is a civil case. So when Adam's saying undermined, which there's no doubt that that happened today, where he's confronted with documents and he has to back off his testimony. Here you're saying to yourself, has the state proven its case by a preponderance, which is 50% and a hair? So not proof beyond a reasonable doubt. The gap between that and, is it perjury, is can the state or the Manhattan District Attorney's Office prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt? Now, I'm listening to this, and one of the things that I've been thinking about is we knew that Bragg the Manhattan District Attorney had been thinking about a criminal case. And so one of the interesting aspects of this is looking at it going, how strong is this case? There's no question in my mind, as the judge has found already, that it meets the preponderance standard. But I think Eric today really didn't help himself out. If a criminal prosecutor is looking at this, you think about what is the underlying proof? And then you also ask yourself, why is he lying about it? So, the more there is a direct contradiction, which I think is, I agree with Adam, is what happened today, the more, if you are a criminal prosecutor looking at this, because it's not too late to bring a criminal case, you're thinking, that is not a good fact for him. Because jurors, are going to add that in the same way that Donald Trump Sr. in Florida is being prosecuted for not just the underlying documents case, but two types of obstruction. Well, this is a form of obstruction. This is lying under oath in a state proceeding. And so it can help with just the decision about whether he should be criminally prosecuted. But I think but all in all, it was a terrible day for Eric Trump in particular.